Hey guys, it's Joe. I'm here to do a little bit of a video about planning a print and the process that goes into it. I apologize for the kind of weird angle that I've got. I left my DSLR on all night and yeah. I guess it's part of being an adult is making mistakes. So I'm going to take the print that I made a video out of, here, okay, as an example to walk you through it, and then I'll probably draw or edit something else that I'm working on and just answer some of your questions that you guys asked me. So, no, I don't want that. Alright, so the way that a reduction print works, which is my plan for this print, is you carve the same image into one block, which is not normally how prints work. Normally, traditional Japanese woodblock prints or other prints like European style woodcuts, if they have multiple colors, will have a different block for each color, and that can be easier in some cases because that makes certain things less complicated, and that's a little hard to explain without demonstrating that visually. So maybe one day I'll do an actual video in the studio explaining that. But I like doing the reduction woodcut or reduction cut technique in all the materials I use because it reduces waste and because it allows me to think a little more creatively. So traditionally speaking, the way that you work in print is you work color. You basically work lightest color up. So let's open these layers up and get, okay, studio pen. Cool. So, and then you build the darker colors up on top of it to create that kind of effect. So then you have to be mindful of how the colors will layer on top of each other. So here, I'm imagining this print to have a base that is kind of like a creamy off-white color, more on the warm side. And so in the print, the first layer I would carve would be all of this. And so that would be my first panel. And what I'm actually going to do, because the next step for all of this would be carving this, what I'm actually doing right now is I'm smoothing the edges out. And I am going to export this image. And I'll probably go into Illustrator and vectorize it so it's, smoothed out or whatever. So I can have my first layer that I can transfer onto my block. I imagine this will also be linoleum just because I have some details that I haven't. Go away, Instagram. I have some details later on in the print that might be a little more difficult in woodcut. I do prefer woodcut because of the texture that woodcut has. So this is maybe one of the more tedious parts of printmaking, because you're not even carving it and you already have to do all this stuff. And also, this first layer always seems a little tedious because oftentimes with like more complicated prints like this one, most of it's going to end up being covered. So it feels a little bit like a fool's errand, but it's okay. So actually, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to copy my canvas, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a new document, and then the new document is going to be A4 size, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my untitled artwork, and then I'm going to go on to the second layer. So I actually do need to make a correction because I used the wrong kind of cactus. I don't want to change the drawing of this cactus, but I used the wrong kind of cactus in my writing, so I actually need to make a correction to this before my husband and my sisters-in-law come and make fun of me for not speaking Spanish. There you go. Yeah. So then again, it's the same sort of deal, like smoothing it all out. And this is probably super boring to anybody who said that they wanted to see me plan a print, so I'm sorry. Okay. So the other thing is just making sure that everything kind of lines up, right? Where the creamy white is peeking through kind of intentionally, that is where how do I explain this? That is where I will carve. So anything you see that's carried over from one layer to the next is actually something that won't be carved. Everything else will be carved. So this will be carved, the white banner. These little like hash marks to make it look like a like cactus spikes, that will be carved. But basically nothing else will be carved between this layer and the next layer, which is why I say that that first layer almost feels like a fool's errand. But it's for a very good reason. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy canvas, and we're going to go into our gallery, and we're going to make an A4 piece of paper, and we are going to paste, and then so I'm using this app Procreate, and it's cool because they let you make stacks, which is like one of my favorite things. So actually, so, you know, now I have that stack and I can just export all those images for later when I'm actually carving the print, and that will definitely have to be a different video because that will take a whole other different time. Alright, now the fun part, which is the silver metallic layer. The other thing is that, like, when I'm at this planning stage, it doesn't need to be really, how do I say this? I'm sorry, this is my first time, like, actually sitting down and recording something for YouTube that isn't silent and actually just talking to you guys about my process. So it's a little intimidating in that sense. And a little interesting to talk about what you're doing while you're doing it. But then again, I want to be a teacher, so I kind of have to learn how to do that, right? So, this fun part here is the silver layer. So again, this is kind of like a game of opposites, because everything that I am coloring in is what's going to stay. Everything else is going to get carved out, right? So normally, if this was just gray, this would be the second layer. But because this is silver, this is going to be the last layer because it's metallic. And the way that metallic inks work and how opaque they are and whatever is very different from non-metallic inks. Excuse me. So, you can kind of see like the way that the image builds off of each other. Actually, let me just copy this again. Copy this canvas again, and we'll move into making another layer. So at this stage in the process, you might notice that there's still some things that are like peeking out, or it's a little for lack of a better word, it's still a little messy. And that's okay, because once I get to the actual carving stage, I'll be a little more intentional. I'll be a little more intentional about that. And this is more about plotting out layers and making sure that the layers that I've chosen will actually work together, and then I can visualize it. So, you know, at first what I did was I actually planned it out in this print. In this document. And I drew it out using this pencil. And then I built the layers on top of each other in different layers on this Procreate app. And then what I filmed with you guys is building the different layers as separate images. And so then what I will do is I will export all of these images separately, and then once they're exported separately, I'll print them out in black and white, and I will trace them on wax paper or transfer paper, and I will transfer them onto the block and carve them that way. And I'll probably do another video talking about that at a later time when I'm ready to do that, because each layer will probably take me a couple of days from carving to printing, just because I would like to do this in the studio rather than at home. But yeah, that's kind of like the first step in really planning a print. I don't know if this was at all interesting. I can do it again with the whale print that I would like to do this upcoming month as well. The whale that was made into a pin. I'd also like to do that as a print. And I was going to do that last month, but I didn't get the paper for it in time, but now I have the paper, and it's really nice paper, so I'd like to do a print of that. also with silver, because I'm on a silver kick right now, I guess, which is very uncharacteristic of me. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else that you guys would like to see or hear me talk about in terms of process or just in general. Just let me know, and thank you for listening to me ramble. I appreciate all of you. So I hope you have a lovely day.